Yo, what is up you guys, Sachin here and welcome to the review of the Samsung Galaxy S20. And yes, I'm in my freaking room because obviously, the corona thing, it's getting a bit intense. 2020 has been such a hectic year, guys. So, you know what? I'm not going to even talk about it. Let's directly get into the video. So if you don't already know, the S20 is the successor of the S10, which debuted back in 2019. And just to match the year, Samsung actually decided to go with the number 20 to match the year 2020. So there are three major flagships in the S year lineup, at least in 2020, and that's the S20, S20 Plus, and the S20 Ultra. Now, as per the name, the S20, is this phone actually 10 generations better than the S10? Well, no, but it has improved quite a lot, and I can't deny the fact that Samsung has come a really long way. So this is my full review of the S20. Enjoy. So starting off with the design. Yup, this phone obviously is a flagship, so it feels rock solid in the hand and heart-touching to the core. It's an all-glass and metal design with polished aluminum frame sandwiched between the curvy display and the back glass, which almost wraps around the aluminum frame, makes it feel like one piece. And it screams premium everywhere, and everything is just fit and tight, which paves the way for the S20 being IP68 dust and water resistant of up to 1.5 meter for 30 minutes. Samsung has done a really good job improving the quality and the feel of their flagships over the years. This is the Cosmic Gray version, and the S20 comes in two more colors, that is the Cloud Blue and the Cloud Pink. Keep in mind that not all the colors available to the S20 are available to the S20 Plus or Ultra. So both the front and back of this device is made up of Corning Gorilla Glass 6, which takes us to the display. The S20 is rocking a 6.2-inch edge-to-edge dynamic organic LED display with a resolution of 1440 by 3200 with a pixel density of approximately 563 ppi and an approximate of 89.5% screen-to-body ratio. From paper to real world, the display looks downright stunning. It's absolutely pleasant to look at, and it feels like a phone from 2020, and the display looks really modern, especially with the hole punch cutout for the camera. This actually looks better than the notch design of the iPhones. Now, since this is an organic LED display, it gives you that infinite contrast ratio with very deep blacks. This also supports HDR10 Plus, so you can view HDR10 Plus content from any HDR supported service. This year, they reduced that curves towards the edge on both sides, and now it looks less curved towards the sides. Now, I would say that's a welcome improvement because when using the previous models with one hand, it would trigger unnecessary response. Some part of your palm would actually touch the display because it was too curved. But the main delta between this year's S20 and the last year's S10 is that this display is also capable of having a refresh rate of up to 120 Hz in contrast to a 60 Hz display. Touch sensitivity is also up to 240 Hz from 120 Hz. This isn't something that I found noticeable when we are using the phone, but those more dedicated to their mobile gaming may find that it makes a difference. So now you might be like, okay Sachin, what on earth is all this crap about this refresh rate that you are even talking about? Something that we don't even care. Well, you know what? Let me explain. You see, every display, including your TV display, also has something which is called a refresh rate. That is the rate of updating or refreshing the content displayed on your screen per second. A standard screen updates or refreshes the content displayed on it at the rate of 60 times in 1 second or 60 Hz. But the display of the S20 can ramp that rate up twice. That is, it can refresh that content displayed on the screen at 120 times in 1 second or 120 Hz. And what's the result of doing all of that? The answer is fluidity. Every motion looks really smooth and snappy. It is as if a whole layer of butter has been added, and it really makes a difference. Now keep in mind that it is turned off by default. When you turn this mode on in settings, the phone will turn down the screen resolution to a Full HD Plus instead of Quad HD. You can't do both at once. That's a bit of a downside that you can't enable them both, but hey, that's what we have here, and I prefer smoothness over resolution. Now when it comes to the display, Samsung had nailed it in almost every flagship phones ever since the S2, and the S20 is no exception. These OLED displays made by Samsung is one of the best in the industry. In fact, it has gone to such high heights that even the iPhone's OLED displays, although designed by Apple, is manufactured by Samsung. So yeah, that's how wild it is. This leads us to the next one, the camera. So this guy has 3 lenses on the back. A main lens of 12 megapixel sensor with f1.8 aperture, a telephoto lens of 64 megapixel with f2.0 aperture, and an ultra-wide lens of 12 megapixel with an aperture of f2.2. Both the main lens and the telephoto lens has face detection autofocus. Photos coming out of S20 is damn straight phenomenal. Each lens manages to perform consistently relative to one another. And of course, these photos look a bit saturated. That's pretty typical Samsung style. Portraits also look very sharp. Night mode on this thing rocks with consistent dynamic range without washed out colors or cutting out the details. The image processing is really good here. All the cameras work brilliantly well, and if you're shooting in the auto mode, you're sure to be impressed with the results. Now, about that 30 times hybrid zoom functionality. It's very good if you are in regular daylight, and it gets a bit noisier when you lose light. But what really impressed me is that all these 3 cameras work together as one, so you won't see any transition when you are zooming. It all appears that if it were coming from a single camera. Now that's dope. But the major hit that has really blown me away is the ability of this thing to capture 8K video at 24 frames per second, which is no joke. Now look, I get that 8K video is not at all an option, not just yet, and most of the phones does not even have this feature. But it's unbelievable that the camera of the S series lineup has come a long way. So yeah, good job Samsung. Now there is something which is called super steady stabilization, which when enabled makes the video look even smoother, like as if it was taken with an attachment of a gimbal. So here are 2 shots, one taken with and the other without super steady. Now the front camera is a 10 megapixel sensor with f2.2 aperture, which is capable of recording 4K video up to 60 FPS. Again, that is impressive. The photos coming out of this camera is no exception as well. This S20 is rocking Samsung's 7nm natively constructed Exynos 990, which is an octa-core processor paired with Mali G77 MP11 GPU, 8 gigs of RAM, and 128 gigs of UFS 3.0 storage with support of up to 1 terabyte of micro SD card expansion, which I would say is more than enough. On the Geekbench, we got a single-core score of 840 and a multi-core score of 2538. For graphics benchmark powered by 3D Mark, we have an overall score of 6351. From paper to real world, this phone is phenomenal. I mean, app loading time is very minimal and almost instantaneous, and the overall system management and the UI elements feel snappier and fluid. This is mainly thanks to super fast read speeds of UFS 3.0 combined with that 120Hz display that makes it. The software is of course Android Q, latest and greatest from Google, paired with Samsung's latest and greatest One UI 2.5, which I am already a big fan of. You see, I would say Samsung's One UI would be the extremely glorified version of the stock Android, which I love, but not as much as this one. I mean, you have so much amount of customization. You can have dynamic switching wallpapers. You have Samsung's signature edge lighting, which you can customize to your preference. You have always on display, and you can even customize the clock style of that, and even more. What I mean to say is that Samsung have put in tons of features that no other company even would care as that much, putting it in on their version of Android. And it's these signature features that make One UI 2.5 a much more pleasant experience. Next is battery. This S20 is rocking a 4000 mAh battery. Battery life, however, I would say is normal. That is, you would have to charge the phone like every 24 hours if you're using it on a regular basis. In fact, if you turn on that 120Hz high refresh rate, then it would drain a bit more. Not that much, but ever so slightly, at least for me. Now, do I care? No, that's where Samsung's super fast charging comes into play. Of course, wireless charging is also supported. Now I don't know about you guys, but I usually charge my phone when it's somewhere around 28 to 30%. And yes, this is on a regular basis, and the battery goes from 28 to 90% in a bit more than 1 hour. Now that's dope. So if you're that person who has a very busy work schedule, that super fast charging has got your back. Now what's more dope is that if you have any wireless charging supported device such as a smartwatch or earbuds or even a full-fledged phone, well, that can be charged wirelessly because this guy supports reverse wireless charging. So the S20 has got your back even on that one as well. And what a review this would have been if I have not mentioned the ultrasonic fingerprint scanner. It's not a fancy name, it's the actual name of the technology used to scan your fingerprint, which is located beneath the display itself. When you place your finger in the marked location, ultrasonic sound is fired towards your finger through the glass and it reflects back with a certain pattern relative to your fingerprint. Very complex, but works like a charm. Now, I do have to say that not only the display is beautiful, but the audio coming out of this phone is powerful as well. It's a stereo setup with an earpiece which doubles as a speaker firing towards you and the main speaker firing sideways, making the sound a bit more sharp. This setup also supports Dolby Atmos, so overall sound is very loud and clear with no distortion at all. Hear it for yourself. It's also very important to note that haptic feedback is one of those UI elements that you do not see but actually feel, but it's ever so subtle. I already forgot to mention that the P30 Pro from Huawei had a nice haptic system. The S20 is no exception as well. It has these haptics that sort of feel mechanical and yet there is something about it. For example, if you toggle a switch, it gives you that sort of sensation that the switch is rubbing and snapping into one position. When a wrong fingerprint is pressed against the display, it gives you that mechanical stressing sensation. These little things are so minimal yet so satisfying. So yeah, good job there as well, Samsung. And finally, let's talk about pricing. Since it's been more than 6 months of its initial release, you can find the 128 gigs baseline S20 for about $675 US. The S20 Plus gets you started off at $684 US, and the S20 Ultra gets you started off at $1,049 US. Keep in mind that the pricings may vary from region to region. Also be aware that these are standard variants. The pricing for the 5G variants may also vary. If you have a 5G network in your region, then check with your carrier. So in conclusion, the Samsung Galaxy S20 is the best flagship Android phone that you can get with an amazing curvy design, a stunning display, pro cameras, and Samsung's feature-rich One UI and more, all in a pretty reasonable price, period. So what do you think about the Samsung Galaxy S20? Is it worth its price? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe and turn on post notifications so that you will get notified every time I upload. Also, I don't know when you guys are gonna watch this video, but if you guys are watching it at the latest, you already know that we are going through a crazy pandemic situation of COVID-19. Now, I don't know about your region, but in mine, the schools have not been open for at least more than 6 months. There are a lot of other problems. Flights have been cancelled, jobs have been lost, and 2020 has been such a hectic year. I know it's very difficult for you guys, I feel you, but we'll go through this together. So make sure that you're wearing your masks properly with nose covered, that is very important. And feel free to sanitize your hands every once in a while when you go out. And of course, follow the rules given in your region to the core so that we all break this chain together. Anyways, that's been it. Thanks for watching. I love you guys so much. It's been your boy Sachin, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.